I'm Jake. He's Jake, aka Big Dave. We're coming in your ears. So we're going to talk about a peak week.
If a peak week made that much difference to your physique, we would do it in week 1.
Yeah.
Like, it'd literally be what we'd start with doing if it made that much difference. It doesn't. So, someone reached out to me the other day. They've been dieting down with a different coach for X amount of weeks for a photo shoot. The plan that they were sent, I'm going to read it out. And they were given this to do 2 days, back to back, leading into the shoot itself. But it's a bit batshit crazy, so I'm going to talk about it.
And I've got no idea.
And you've got no idea what it is. The first thing, and I'm going to watch your eyes as I tell you this, is 8 o'clock in the morning, I'll have fish and a rice cake.
Hello there, welcome back. We are Biceps and Banter. I'm Jake. He's Jake, aka Big Dave.
We said that on the last episode, didn't we?
We didn't.
Wondering what we were called.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully if they've made it this far, they've got an idea of what we're called. But yeah, Jake and Big Dave are back on your screens, in your ears.
Again, it
sounds a bit weird, that.
Well, no, again, it's a Phoenix Nice reference. They say Charlie FM coming in your ears.
Oh, really?
If you'd watched it, if you'd have actually gone away and done the homework that I set you a year ago, you'd know that.
Yeah, but we're coming in your ears.
So, just 2 online coaches talking about how we work with our clients, how we get them in shape, and how we have built our business over the last 5-6 years,
give or take,
something like that,
in and around that region, something like that. Yeah. So we're going to talk about a peak week.
So,
not how we do them though.
No, I guess we will kind of cover what we would do. So, I got sent the other week a peak week. So, someone reached out to me that is a friend of one of my clients.
Should we tell people what a peak week is?
A peak week is essentially the week before a photo shoot or a bodybuilding competition where you have dieted down for X amount of weeks, and the week before you might want to manipulate a couple of things to bring your best look to the photo shoot.
Bring your best package.
Your best package, if you want to put it like that. So,
Viagra.
It's very blue today. It's going very blue. So that's what a peak week is. Now, everyone has different ways of doing it. You could literally read about it for hours, and coaches will give you all different ways of doing it. The way that we generally view them is that it should be a stress-free week. You should already be in the shape that you want to be in for your shoot when you come into your peak week, so you don't have to change much, and you should, basically, peak weeks are like an extra 1% at most. Most people do not need them. Most people.
Yeah, I mean, we've just taken 30 plus people into photo shoots, and probably only 50% of people had peak weeks or needed proper peak weeks there.
They're just majorly like glamorized in the industry as this magic thing of
it's a buzzword.
Wait till your peak week.
It's a buzzword. People are, and don't get me wrong, it can create a bit of excitement. It's something for people to look forward to if they don't necessarily need it. But again, as Jake said, the way that we view them is it might make a couple of minor changes to someone who's in that kind of condition.
Yeah.
But it's an opportunity to fill you out, have you looking your best, and more importantly, having you feeling your best, like taking away some of that stress, relaxing, going into a shoot or whatever. For us, it would be a photo shoot, a bodybuilding show, whatever it might be, in a good headspace more than anything else.
The way I kind of phrase it, because we'll get, especially with the coaches, a lot of time, like, am I going to get a peak week? Can't wait to see what happens to my peak week and what change it makes. And I kind of say to them, like, look, if a peak week made that much difference to your physique, we would do it in week 1.
Yeah.
Like, it'd literally be what we'd start with doing if it made that much difference. It doesn't. Anyway, so someone reached out to me the other day, a friend of a client of mine who they've been dieting down with a different coach for X amount of weeks for a photo shoot. They've just been sent their peak week plan.
Who's this? A friend of yours?
A friend of a client of mine.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I'm going to keep it anonymous. And I don't want this to come across as having a go at the coach of this person, because I don't know who this person's coach is. It's someone, the person themselves lives abroad, the coach lives abroad. Don't know who they are, no idea. I don't actually think that what they've sent is with ill intention. I just think it's very misinformed. But it's a bit batshit crazy, so I'm going to talk about it.
And I've got no idea.
And you've got no idea what it is. Because I didn't want to tell you, because I want to see your reaction as I read it out. So they sent me this, and they were like, I'm really, really sorry, but I've been talking to your friend in the gym, and I've showed them the plan, and this client of mine, who's there, this is really confusing, I know, I could have told this story better. They've done multiple photo shoots, so they know roughly what a peak week should look like.
Okay.
Showed them this, they were like, doesn't seem right to me. Messaged my coach, have a chat. He'll probably be more than happy to have a talk with this person. And I was like, look, at the end of the day, I don't, you're not my client, but you've dieted for X amount of weeks. You've put a lot of work in. You should not feel stressed out and anxious about a peak week ruining the entire,
the work you've put into this
you've
point.
Done. You should, by this point, just be excited for the shoot, ready to do it, and just, that's pretty much it. So I was like, look, I'll put you a peak week together. just to make sure that you're happy as well. And obviously, it's like a friend of a client, so you want to make sure that they're looked after and everything like that. So that's what I did. But the plan that they were sent, I'm going to read it out. And this, they were given this to do 2 days back to back, leading into the shoot itself.
2 days back to back. So,
this was to do on the 3 days out, 2 days out from the shoot, 1 day out from the shoot,
Okay.
shoot day the next day. Okay, bearing in mind for the first half of their peak week, they'd been told to completely cut carbs, completely cut salt, and drink 10 litres of water a day. 10 litres of water a day. The most I've ever told a client to consume a day in a peak week, I think, was 7 litres a day. And the client itself was nearly 100 kilos.
I was going to say I did it with Jasper, but he's 100 kilos.
And that was just 7 a day.
Yeah.
This was 10 litres a day for an individual who...
10 litres, man. How big is he? What's his weight and stuff?
They were around 60 kilos.
And were they lean? Have you seen the pictures?
There was, lean enough to see some condition. Certainly in good shape and done really well and lost quite a bit of weight and got themselves to a point where you can see abs and stuff like that. So they've done really, really well. On day one of the peak, from 10 litres of water, it was to cut down to 2 litres of water. That was the first thing, right? No salt, 2 litres of water.
So 10 litres was for 1 day, then it was down to...
No. It was 10 litres for the start of the week every day.
Sorry.
And then on the...
10
Let's say the
litres.
Thursday, for example, the shoot's on the Saturday. On the Thursday, down to 2 litres, no salt.
I've never heard 10 litres anywhere.
Here was the food that they were given to eat for the entire day that they could split. There's no timings of meals. There's no have this, and it's just, this is everything you're allowed to eat today. Split it how you want it. The first thing, and I'm going to watch your eyes as I tell you this, is 150 grams of honey.
150 grams?
Of honey. Yeah. The second thing...
I mean... Even consuming that, I mean, what, you're spooning it out and just...
Yeah.
Even just the texture of like...
Yeah. The second thing was...
That's weird.
15 rice cakes.
15?
15. Not even the Snacker Jack ones as well. So still waiting for that sponsorship. 15 plain rice cakes. And again, rice cakes pretty standard.
To be fair,
week. Most people have them, that's fine.
Yeah.
But 15 is... pretty
quite a lot,
but you need something to put the honey on, I guess. So what else should you put it on? And then this is where it gets weird. So those two things are relative.
Oh, so they're not weird?
Oh no, they're relatively
weird bit.
I mean, but this is where it gets weird. The next thing was, I don't know whether to say the individual things or just give an accumulative total. Essentially, all they had left for the day after that was 2, 7, 6, 3, 4, 50, 5, about 600 grams of sweets, of Haribo sweets to split across the day. 600 grams. And that was their food for the entire day.
No.
Now, this goes into specifics of have 150 grams of this type, 150 grams of this type, 150 grams of this type. But essentially, it's 600 grams of Haribo across the day with 150 grams of honey.
That is wild.
And so and then the following day was the exact same, but just with 1 litre of water.
Well, that makes sense.
Saves it really. Yeah.
Makes sense.
It's a good job they put that in.
Yeah,
So it
good
could have
job.
gone wrong. Now, right, so I don't want to come across as like a dick. I don't want to have a go at a coach because I don't know who the coach is. I'm sure with this that, it's a case of this is probably something that they've been told to do at some point.
Yeah.
And that's what they're passing on. And that's what they think the best thing to do is, and that's fine.
But this is kind of part of the issue with the industry, right? Which is probably what you were leading on to. But like a lot of coaches do something themselves and then apply that to their clients because it's what they did.
Yeah, because it's like, that's just how I got told to do
Yeah,
it.
so for example, this guy, and listen, it still sounds like an absolutely wild approach, but let's say this coach is a bodybuilder. Let's say he was stepping on stage. There'd probably be a little bit more method to that madness somewhere down that line, right? Like completely depleting carbs to then load up on some sugary carbs for a couple of days and just... kind of fill glycogen up. Like there might be something to that, okay? But for a normal person, again, going back to what we said about a peak week and what we believe it should be, right? Who is not necessarily diced to the bone, who is having a photo shoot, so it should be an enjoyable experience, something they've worked really hard for. Even just taking into consideration, what if they've not been eating these foods in their diet, and this is completely changing it, what's that's going to do to the digestion?
Literally.
Bloating, how that's going to feel on the stomach, how it's going to make them feel.
That was point number one. I said back to that was, how do you think you feel if you ate all that? And they were like, I'd feel really sick.
Horrible.
I was like, yeah, I would.
Horrible, yeah.
Why would you? I actually did, prior to one of the photo shoots I did back in 2023, I just had a share bag of Haribo that I was eating on the way to the shoot. I didn't even have a full bag. But I don't know how heavy those bags are. They might be about 250 grams. I probably had about 100 grams just snacking on this about an hour's car drive. Even that, my stomach was like...
Well, we have it on the shoot when people come for the day and obviously bring sweets. But they're snacking sweets and everyone says the same thing by the end of the shoot. I was like, I just feel a bit shit now. I feel a bit sick, feel a bit horrible. And it's not like they're doing 600 grams of the stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know?
So it was two days of that. And so I was like, well, how do you think you'd feel if you did that? They're like, yeah, I'd feel really, really sick and really, really poorly. I was like, yeah, probably not a good idea to do that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I was like, how do you feel about how you look right now? And they were like, pretty happy, to be fair, like lost some weight. I'm looking pretty lean. It's probably one of the best like shape I've been in. I was like, okay, what does your food look like at the minute? And they're literally like, it's just your normal, having I think it was an omelette for breakfast with some veg, having some chicken and some rice, having some salmon and rice cakes. Like, I was like, cool. Literally just do that for your peak week. So I went through and I gave him a bit of a structure and some targets and plans. But I was like, just don't change anything. Like, you're already happy with how you look.
The only bits of advice I'd probably give on peak weeks, and the way that I like, listen, everyone's got their own way of doing peak weeks as well, of course. And I suppose there's no kind of right or wrong. There's slightly batshit crazy, but there's no real right or wrong. Like, everybody's got their own approach here. And even me and you probably do them, I think we do them slightly differently. They're very similar for the best part, but I like to put if someone is in that kind of condition, I'll carb load them kind of middle of the week, because if there's any spillover, it gives us a couple of days to let things settle down. The only tweak that I might make on those days is if they've been eating loads of volume through fruit and veg, which is normal whilst you're dieting, I might just ask them to pull back on that stuff, just because, again, digestion, it can cause havoc on the gut. Yeah. So for a few days, I might just say, no, let's just lean into some easier to digest stuff, like some rice cakes, maybe an extra bagel with some jam on it, like that kind of stuff. But again, I don't see the benefit of changing someone's diet drastically in a peak week.
No.
Again, digestion-wise, how it's going to make them feel, the stress that's going to add to the body, the anxiety of changing things just mentally, even if it's not going to do anything physically. There's just so much for me that just doesn't add up there.
Yeah, you would just end up coming into the shoot stressed, stomachache probably.
Yeah.
Looking a bit flatter, looking a bit smoother, because you're probably holding a lot of water from the stress, bunged up. Like, you just wouldn't feel good. So we do it. So obviously with peak weeks, you can do front loads, back loads, rapid back loads, there's fat loads. There's so many ways you can do it, and there's not necessarily a right or wrong. Well, there is definitely wrong ways, but there's not necessarily like a right way. It's just whatever fits well for that person.
Yeah.
But I do the same thing as you. I'm like, if someone requires one, it's like, right, keep your food pretty much the same. Pull the veg down halfway through the week to reduce any digestive stress. Water intake, we might add a litre a day on the net. Yeah. That's pretty much it. We'll keep your salt the exact same as to whatever you've been having. And we just go for the more easy to digest foods. We actually go the opposite and say anything that we think might upset your stomach, fizzy drinks, cans of Coke, Monsters, whatever it is, even the sweet type stuff, we're probably going to pull that out for a couple of days beforehand, just to make sure it's minimal, and that's it.
Yeah.
But I think, like I said, I didn't want it to come across as like a rant about this person, because I'm sure they've got like all the best intentions and they think that this is the way it should be done, and that's fine. But I think it definitely highlights the thing of like, you need to go away and actually learn a bit more about that, and actually ask, does this person need one? And if they do, what's going to be the best approach? What does this, because they've obviously not asked this person, how do you feel about this? Because otherwise they wouldn't have come to me being like,
and I think that's something that's become like way more apparent since we started working with coaches. Is actually, again, going back to what we said maybe in the last episode, I think because people see online coaching as like an easy in to like, for whatever reason, but it's probably way harder than being like an in-person PT or whatever. But like, they see it as like an easy in. They're not willing to, or maybe they don't have the knowledge that they should have. And like, coaches should be like, quote unquote, fucking sounds wanky, leveling up. They should be. Me and you spoke about loads of times, like when we first, not that we didn't have the knowledge anyway, like I've been a PT for the best part of 20 years now. But when I first started online coaching, I went and got coached by people who've been doing it, because I wanted to see how they coached, how they did things. Like, I just don't think enough coaches, I think they're bypassing those things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're going straight to, I'm an online coach, not knowing how to deliver coaching, maybe just coaching people how they see fit, whereas actually, you've got to be flexible. You can't just give people macros and send them off on the way. You can't just give them calories and protein. Even like, everybody's different. Everybody's going to require a different approach, and I just don't think enough coaches are learning what these approaches can possibly be before then just giving everyone the same advice.
They're not coaching. Like, the coaching is understanding the individual and giving them what they need in that moment to help them get to wherever they want to go. It's not just, I know all this shit, let's fling it at you and see what sticks.
This week alone, I've given a couple of people meal plans where I thought it was necessary. I've put one girl on a protein modified fasted approach, and a couple other things which other people might be like, but like again, this is coaching. It's understanding the person, where they're at, and what is required for them at that moment in time. It's not saying you're going to do that forever, but I just think the coaching standards, unfortunately, just maybe aren't where they should be.
Yeah. So that was it.
So there we go.
See your reaction. Domino's have just texted me as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they text me all the time,
Yeah.
I never get anything. In fact, the last time I did was when we did a challenge, and I felt sick for about 3 days afterwards. So that's probably why.
Yeah, we won't talk about the challenge. Didn't go down well, did it?
Did not go well.
Go well.
So yeah, that's it.
That's that one. Thanks for listening to us rant.
Yeah, catch you in the download soft to shredded. Catch you in the next.
Download soft shredded, and yeah, just do that.
Yeah, catch you in the next.
See you later.